Hi everyone and welcome to Rob Evans 365. It's day number 410. And today we're going to be talking about the growth of you. Yesterday we spoke about nurturing you and how do we fill up those buckets of your energy so that you can give more and more to not only to yourself but to others as well. And today, I guess we're heading down a consistent path of yesterday. But whether you've had a focus on this in your life or not, I want you to start to, because this one single thing has really helped revolutionize who I am, what it is that I want to do with my life. And it's something that I wish that I had gotten probably 40 years ago. But I have really only discovered it over the last 5 years, the importance of it. And each year that goes by, I put more and more emphasis into it. And this is around the growth of me and coaching of me and realizing the importance for me in taking me to where it is that I want to go in life, the outcomes that I want to get. All comes down to the coaching and the resources that I make available and how I use those resources to get more knowledge and make myself a better version of myself. So there are a few different things that I want you to think about here. Yes, we can just focus on the health and fitness side of it, but I think you can apply these principles that I'm about to talk about more broadly so that you can, whether it is health and fitness, whether it's other aspects of your life, you can see how the same things will apply. Now, today I want to just talk about books, okay? Not the coaching side of things. We've talked about that before. I'll talk about it again, about the importance of getting a coach and getting you the results that you want faster. But today I'm just going to talk about books. Now, we have access to so many books and you don't even have to buy them these days. I mean, if you want to get them online via, whether it's an audio book even, or whether it's a downloadable version, they only cost a few dollars. So if you want to get the traditional book, then you can normally get that pretty cheaply as well. Or you'll be surprised at how many books are available in your local library for free, absolutely no cost. You just got to go in and check it out. I know it's not something that people do a lot of these days, but those resources are available to you. The main trick is to say, okay, what are the areas that I want to grow in? Now, I bought my very first book back when I was 16 years old, and it was called Success Through a Positive Mental Attitude. And it was a fantastic book, and there was something in me back when I was 16, 17 years old that said, do you know what? I want to become a better version of myself back at that age. Now, unfortunately, I didn't continue that. I always had an interest in those topics, motivation, inspiration, all from a very young age, because I wanted to become a high performer from a young age, because from the age of 11, I used to play the bagpipes. And I know, weird instrument, but it was the only thing that I was good at. And so I wanted to compete in the World Championships. I wanted to be the best at what I did. And yes, they do have World Championships over in Glasgow in Scotland every year. And I went over there and competed in 1990 with the Victoria Police Pipe Band, and we came 14th out of 28. So midway, it was the first time that an Australian band had ever been overseas to compete at that level. Now, many years later, when I was out of the band, they went on and they actually won the World Championships. An incredible feat. But from an early age, I had this drive, this hunger within me to be better. The problem was I didn't enjoy school and I didn't really enjoy reading. So I didn't do a lot of it. And I don't think I even finished that book. I remember reading the first few chapters of it, and that was it. And I remember I found the book again many years later, and I then lost it. I don't know whether I lost it in moves or what. I looked everywhere for it, couldn't find it. Maybe one day it will turn up. But I went and repurchased the book because that, for me, is where it all started for me. And, I think it's more than having a positive attitude, for sure, because you can think positive, but unless you take action with that positivity and energy, then it amounts to nothing. And I think this is where I have sat for many years of my life, thinking that, okay, well, if I just think about all these things, then the rest will come to you. And this is a little bit like The Secret. You may have heard me talk about this before, The Secret. I'm not a fan of that book because it does talk about, if you just think all these things and think positive and all that, and you think you need money and stuff, it will just find a way to come into your life. That's BS. I mean, that doesn't happen at all. What happens is that you think those thoughts and then you say, okay, this is driving me. I need to take some action. Now I take the action. Now I'll get the outcome. Not just wishing that these things are going to happen and think about it. I mean, I think I've read things in there about, about people wishing that they were in a relationship and, going to bed each night and wishing that they were in a relationship. And, what do you know? Then all of a sudden, one day they're in a relationship and, if you just wish it, it'll kind of happen. Well, sorry, I don't believe in that. You got to take action yourself to make these things happen. Otherwise, it's a bit like saying I'm going to just buy a Tats Lotto ticket every week and just wish that I'm going to achieve that outcome, where you've got such a like a 1 in 100 million chance or something of winning. Something like that. Most people just don't. So anyway, my point here is that I live my life in terms of just thinking if I thought these good thoughts, then I would be able to take my business to where I wanted to. I'd be able to take my life where it is that I wanted to because I'm a good person and these things would just happen. The universe would bring it all to me. Well, I can tell you that doesn't just happen. And the only way that these things have happened in my life that have been fantastic is often at great expense in terms of time, sometimes money, and certainly blood, sweat and tears of what it takes from you to get those outcomes. It doesn't just happen. And I don't think you know what hard is until you've reach the absolute bottom of the barrel and then you come out from that and say, oh wow, yeah, I knew it was going to be hard, but I didn't realize that it was going to take me this long to get there and it would be as hard as it is. A good example is I was just tidying up yesterday actually, and I came across this book that I got when I was over in at Los Angeles last year actually. And it was given to me. And obviously there's been a number of things that have changed for me over the last 12 months because of me going through my own book publishing journey, knowing what's involved, talking to the publisher, going through editing, proofreading, all that kind of stuff. And I picked up this book. It's not a very thick book. And I remember receiving it at the time from this guy and thinking, wow, this is fantastic. Look, he's just given me this book. It seems like it's a fantastic concept. And this guy has gone from one length to another and tremendously inspirational. And I started having, I haven't read the book, I started having a bit of an examination of it. And I looked at the front cover. And then I thought, actually, this looks like it's very amateurish. Just the fontage and all that. I don't know if that's a word, fontage. The font and everything is not that great. And, the layout inside of it is very amateurish. And then I started reading some of it, and it's almost like it's gibberish. It's like, this doesn't even make any sense. One thing is not leading to another. And, this guy was not a nutritionist or anything. He's telling people to pretty much just eat, once a day and just be drinking juice for the rest of it. I'm like, what are you on, man? And I read a few more parts and I thought, man, this is just really not that great. But it's something that he has written and he thinks it's fantastic, and good luck to him. My point is that the more knowledge that I have gotten in this area makes you realise the difference between what's a good book and what's an ordinary book. And from the front cover design through to how the font that it's printed in, the content, the way that it's laid out, etc., etc. Clearly, this guy had no one editing the book, no one proofreading it to say, mate, you really need to go back and rethink this because it's not flowing, and people aren't really going to know what you're talking about. So anyway, I guess that's only come for me by reading more books, by getting more knowledge, and becoming very, very clear about what it is that I wanted to do. Because initially I thought it'd be great to just get a book out there, and it would have been something like this guy. Like if I go back to the very first draft of mine and the first chapter, I remember writing it, leaving it for a couple of months, going back and reading it again and saying, man, this is crap. This is just no good at all. What were you thinking? It doesn't make sense to me. How are other people going to make sense of it? So I had to go back and redo it. And then as I've gone through the whole book, gone through it again and again and again, and then said, okay, it's time to take it to the next level, let's get it edited and so forth, it's really helped shape it. So I guess that only came for me through reading books, as I said, becoming very clear about what it is that I want to achieve. And this is why books are so important in terms of you reading them. You've got to find the areas that you want to get great in and just start reading. Because, like I said, I wasn't a good student. I struggled in that area. So therefore, to me, reading was pain. But then it's only been about 5-7 years ago where I've realised that actually books have the potential to give me all this knowledge and drive that can take me to a whole new level. And I think it was probably where it resonated with me most was I was listening to a podcast, not a podcast, it was on YouTube, but playing in the background. And I don't know who the guy was that said it, but he was talking about how you become the best at what you do. And he was talking about something like if you read one book a month, I may have what he was saying a little bit wrong, but it was something like if you read one book a month in the area, in the particular area, you will become the expert in that area if you do that for, I think it's 12 months or something like that, 2 years. So basically if you just read a book consistently or different books in a topic in that area for a couple of hours every day for a year or two, then you will become the expert authority in that field. Now, to me, that's pretty impressive. I might have that, as I said, the timing might be wrong. It might have been it might have been 12 months that you did it. And I thought, wow, imagine that. And like I guess one of my weaknesses is that I always want to have more knowledge. And you can say that's a strength or a weakness, but often I will not comment on something until I've got all the information. And I'll say, well, actually, I need to get this other book on this to really understand it before I can make a comment on that, because there's just so many lots of information out there, so much science, so much research, that you kind of want to know it all so that you can make an informed decision. That's the left brain analytical thinking of me telling you that. For me, I think the opportunity that lies out there that is untapped was a scary prospect for me, that how did I ever expect to get where I want to get to unless I'm doing more in this space. I'm seeking out these books, I'm reading these books, and then making sure that I act on what the books are saying, where I think these are really good points that I want to take forward in my life, and making sure that I implement them consistently. Now, I've known of plenty of people before, and you've probably been like this too. I mean, I've certainly done this before, where you've, say, gone to a course, or in this case, you've read a book, you've read a great book, and you said, do you know what, there are some great things in this book, and that yes, if I implemented those things, I could see that they would have some benefit in my life, and yet you don't do it. Or you did it once, and then you stopped, even though you thought it was a good idea. Why did you stop? Why aren't you still doing it? What was wrong? You thought it was good? And maybe if you went back again, say, yeah, that was really good when I did that. So why aren't you still doing it? It's because we fall into these complacent parts of our life where we don't really like change. The concept of having some change is great, but when it comes to actually implementing the change, we don't actually do it because, I don't know, we figure it's too hard or something. So this is where you need to stand up for yourself and say, I'm going to be different. I'm not going to be like I was before, or I'm going to start doing something now that I've never done before. And the challenge is to find the area that you want to get great at. Now, you could pick it as health and fitness, or you could pick some other area of your life. I would say pick another area of your life where you want to be absolutely the best that you can be at. And go and start researching. Just start Googling best book on X and find it. And then buy it, download it, borrow it, whatever you need to. Go to a secondhand bookstore if you like and see what you can find. But seek out the book and start reading it. Now, when you get the book, a good tip I was given probably 12 months ago about reading a book is to do it this way. First time you want to do is, and if you can learn to speed read, that's probably your first good book to get. Speed reading is a really powerful thing. I'm not great at it, but I'm getting better. There's a few different ways to do it, so find something on speed reading, and that'll help get you through more books faster and retain more information. What you want to do is first time read the chapter and highlight all the different parts that you think are important. If you say, oh, well, I don't really like marking my books, time to change. Mark your book up. So get a highlighter as you're reading the chapters, go through and highlight the areas that you think are really resonating with you, the strongest points. Now, obviously the way that I'm saying this is I want you to find books where you want to get better. So not like story books or science fiction or that kind of stuff. I want you to find books where you are really going to learn. Now, this could be a biography or something like that, and the person is outlining specific things that they've done, but you might need to go something a little bit more technical, but you'll find out when you do a bit of research. So first time, go through, highlight all the different things. Okay, that's the first chapter. Okay, once you've read a chapter, go back to the start, go through the chapter again, this time only looking at the areas that you've highlighted. And then of the areas that you've highlighted, underline the key words or the key parts that you think are now standing out to you. So it won't be the whole lot that you've highlighted, most likely, but I want you to just underline the key parts, the key words or the key sentences that are really going to resonate with you, and they will be the parts that you take forward. And do that through the whole book. And in that way, you will retain more, learn more, and you'll take more action that way. It might sound like a simple step, but let's face it, most people aren't reading books. Most people aren't reading these types of books to move their life in a better direction. I mean, the people that I've worked with before that are say not senior managers, but they're, well, even people that I've known that have been senior managers and executives don't read. They just go through day by day. But there was my last boss that I worked with. He was a consistent reader, brilliant man. And I remember loaning him a book, and he gave it back to me the next day. Or actually, it was over the weekend because he'd read the whole thing. I was like, wow, that's impressive for someone with his schedule. And he really enjoyed it. So I want you to be doing this step consistently, because it will take you further than you thought you could go before. It will light something within you that you didn't think was possible. Like I say, most people don't read work. You want to get ahead in your job, and you just think, oh, well, if I'm here long enough, I'll get further ahead. Well, why don't you get a head start on the competition? Who's your competition? Everybody else around you in your office, probably, and those that are outside the office, those that, maybe there's a job opportunity that comes up that they don't believe that can be filled from within, so they advertise externally. And it's like, that's just a slap in the face to you to say, well, we don't think you've got the skills to do what we actually require in this job. So this is where you can shine through. You don't have to enroll in an expensive course or anything like that. Just start reading in the areas where you want to get better. Let's just say that you work on a call center as part of a sales team. What could you do? I'd be going out and finding every sales book that I could in the areas of sales where you want to get better, and find out, what do they do? What do the best salespeople in the world do? How do they get that sales? How do they build those relationships? How do they overcome objections and problem solve for people, and see that we are their solution to their problem? And that's how you get more sales. And then you start to do this, you'll find that your conversion rates are going up. You'll find that you'll be noticed more in management. There'll be opportunities that come up, etc., where no one else is doing what you're doing. Yeah, they're doing the internal sales training, if we stick with sales for now, but no one's doing the extra reading that you are. So see how you can give yourself an edge? It's just waiting there for you. You don't have to go back and do a university degree and say, oh, well, this person's got a uni degree, I'm never going to be able to get there because I'm not going to do one. Well, trust me, that having done a uni degree myself, all the uni degree does is get you in the door. Now, what I can tell you is that after probably 10 years, when you reach that age of 10 years past doing a uni degree, the uni degree does not matter at all. It's about the results that you've got. Now, you could not go to uni and have awesome results, and that's what matters. You could go on to uni and have poor results, and that doesn't matter. Well, it matters in terms of them not getting the job, because there's like, well, okay, I can see you're highly qualified, but you really just seem like you're academic, because where's your results? So that's the difference. So it comes down to the practicalities of making sure that you're implementing rather than just a theorist. So there is your homework. Okay, I know it's a little bit different, but find the area where you want to get better at. Find a book and start reading, and then just keep doing this. This is something that you want to make sure that you do for the rest of your life, so that you're constantly learning. And the areas that you're learning about will change. I mean, to start with, when I first started my journey, it was, yes, there was something about me wanting to become more positive, but have more energy, like more of a positive energy around me, because I just enjoyed living like that. And then once I started doing my training, I wanted to know more about the different exercises and different training techniques and food and so forth, so that I could give myself more knowledge in that particular area. And now I do a combination of those things, but I do a lot of work on coaching. So books around coaching, or people's success stories, like Richard Branson and business books and so forth, so I can learn how do I get better at doing what I'm doing in a particular area so that I can help more people. So there's your homework. Have fun with this because, look, books, we're so lucky. So we should be so grateful for people to write books. If you think about my book, it's really about 30 years of my health and fitness knowledge. It's probably taken me, most people say that their first book probably takes about a decade to do, which that doesn't mean it's been a decade from starting writing it to finishing it, but in terms of the thinking about it and I'm going to do this and etc., it probably takes people 10 years to do it. And that's consistent with me too. And you've got access to this material just by doing a search for it and tapping into it where it's got a person's life's work in there. So you should be grateful for that opportunity to get an insight into somebody that has been successful and learning about how you can learn from their success to become successful. All right, that's me out for today. I will see you tomorrow.